Hey, so yeah, I always say that this is the birthday version of the live stream. August is my birthday. My uncle, I grew up calling him Uncle Tony, but Anthony, he's a real funny guy. And on birthdays, he always used to come up to you and he would shake your hand for way too long and like just never let you go and like drag you around the house like we come and visit and stuff. But anyways, he would say, "How old are you, boy?" And I would say 12, and he'd just look at me and say 12 wasted years. So it was a very formative thing now because I can say 47 wasted years. I've always liked that line. I use it on my children. 47 this year. It's crazy how time flies. I've got kids going out into the world. My oldest just got a job, moved out of the house, got a job that correlates with his major. Pretty crazy stuff, man. Kids are getting big and life is moving fast. I thought for Career Corner, we'll kind of put the August Career Corner and birthday reflections into one little mini session here. Something that's just kind of evolved over the years. I'm incredibly blessed to have some good friends from high school, and it's interesting because I was in my 40s, I think, maybe late 30s, early 40s, when I realized that not everybody has the friend group that I have. I have both from college and from high school, just some really, really solid people. So some really solid men in my life that I've been really, really blessed to be around and to go through life with. We've had this camping trip. We've been doing this camping trip for a very long time. We've been doing this camping trip for like 21 years, maybe. We started, no, 25, 26 years. Because we started, the first time we went out was when I was 21. I mean, it's grown over the years. Some people have come and gone from the trip, as life will do. But it's kind of evolved into this birthday weekend trip for me. My birthday is August 3rd, and you'll typically find me in northern Michigan on a lake with a few of my buddies. It was just good time. This year we had good weather. It was warm, wasn't too warm. We took care of ourselves a little bit better. The older we get, sometimes I think the alcohol consumption goes down over the years. The food, we really used to tear it up as far as food goes, but I've been adjusting and kind of tracking down dietarily my stuff for the last year and a half or so. So the food's gotten a little more reasonable than it used to be, and a lot of the time is just sitting around the fire, maybe telling stories that we've all heard before. Playing a little bags, cornhole, depending on what part of the country you're from. But we cooked up some ribs in some fun ways. We slow cooked some ribs over the fire, which was really fun. Just a little stuff to pass the time, and it was good. It was good. And falling into the birthday reflection thing, I've been thinking about, especially through the lens for this podcast, because I do try to, this podcast is something that kind of keeps me accountable on some level, at least of being mindful of what am I doing to get better. Sometimes you have months with great progress, and sometimes you have months where you're kind of rolling backwards a little bit. And maybe I've been in that space the last month or so. But I was hanging out with the guys. We were just having a conversation. For all the joking around we do, we will get into talking about serious stuff from time to time. And so, kind of one of my big lessons over this past year has been to, I find that I make assumptions about situations, and sometimes I carry them for a really long time, and sometimes carry negative emotion because of them for a very long time. This was one of those situations. So a little bit about me. I've shared it on the podcast before, but I lost my brother when he was 16 and I was 13. And one of the things that I've found is I lived in a very small town, at the time, maybe 1,400 people, 1,200 people. That's a small town, man. And that was pre-internet. If you're not from a small town, I don't think you have too much of a notion about how big of a deal that is in a small community like that. As I've gone through life, I realized that I always had the feeling that, through various ways, that I was treated differently after my brother passed. Okay. And like, especially in school, and or at least in reference for what we're discussing right now through that lens in school. I was going to kind of get something off my chest. I was getting teased a little bit because of how competitive I am. I'm not going to lie. When we were playing cornhole, the teams I was on won the majority of games, but the last 3-game series we played, we lost. And I'm not going to lie. My blood was boiling a little bit because your boy's competitive. Anyways, it was after that they were kind of teasing me lovingly about my competitive nature. I brought this up. So I played basketball in high school all the way through school, and I was pretty much the last man on the bench every year. But I was a really high effort guy. I think it's one of the reasons why I professional athletes that have all the talent in the world but are really lazy. That always drives me crazy as a fan. I remember my junior year, I was trying out for the varsity team, and they were going to keep 15 guys on the team. And Coach Coddens, you'll never hear this, but little shout out to Coach Dan Coddens. It was cut day, and again, I was probably the 15th or 16th best person that was going out for the team. I walked in to his office and we started talking, and he's being really casual and just kind of, shooting the breeze or whatever. And then eventually he said, well, I mean, obviously you made the team, blah, 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 and I kind of just stopped hearing what he was saying beyond that point. So Coach Coddens had also coached my brother. I remember it feeling very unsatisfactory to make the team because I felt as if when he said that, obviously you made the team, it felt like charity to me. And for 20, this is going to sound crazy, for almost 30 years, maybe 29, 30 years, in the back of my head, I've always thought about that as a situation where somebody gave something to me that I didn't earn. All right. And that was that, and some other instances like that are some things that at times motivate me, right? Like I don't like being given things that I don't feel as if I earn. I shared the story with my friends, and my dear friend Ian, who was like a star on the team, he almost got a little irritated with me because he said, did you ever think that it was, of course, you made the team because you were maybe the most fiery competitor, scrappiest, and hardest working guy? That had never dawned on me. And I mean, that's possible. And I'm not telling this story to debate what the reality was with that situation, but I'm telling the story to relay that I made an assumption about a situation when I was a kid, when I was like 16 or 17. And I held it with me for 30 years. And in some ways you could say, oh, well, you use it as motivation, this, that, the other thing. But I'll be honest, it wasn't a healthy thing. You know what I mean? Like it didn't necessarily push me to get better. Like I could have had I had resentment about it, That makes it might seem like a silly, weird little story from my past. But the reason I share it is, and maybe this will hit for somebody that's listening out there right now. I think one of the things, reflecting on this year, the whole birthday thing, whatever, I need to do a better job of not making assumptions about a situation and then allowing emotions to build surrounding those things. Whether that is a personal relationship a work relationship, it's just not good. I can find myself and do find myself in those situations currently. But it's just not the best. It's just not the best way to handle it. When Ian told me that, it blew my mind. Like, it was like one of those things where somebody tells you, oh, this guy's not blue. It's green. Like it's the world upside down thing. Because that's, and again, it might sound weird that it's like such a strong memory for me. But I mean, that's the way it goes. Sometimes we do have those really strong connections to certain memories like that. It just blew my mind that I made an assumption about a situation, and whether it was right, wrong, or whether I was right or wrong almost doesn't matter. The fact that you just internalize it and run with it and cook on it and let it build pressure, that's your problem. That's my problem. That was the good that came out of the birthday camera trip, along with some other stuff. Not to ramble on about that for too long. But, I think it does play into my experience at Sonder. I was actually offered the job last year at Sonder on August 3rd, my birthday. I was driving up north for my camp trip, and I got a call from Chase where they offered me the job and said, offer letter and pending, right? I'm about to hit my 1 year anniversary there. To go a little bit further, and this is a little bit more through a career lens, and maybe connected a little bit to some of the other stuff we've been discussing. One of the things that I have been made aware of over the last year, and maybe more specifically like in the last 6 months, is I think my first 6 months I was so dialed in on learning the people I was working with, the new processes, the new equipment, that's just where my head was at. And I remember having the conversation when I took the job with Chase. He said, are you gonna, is it going to be difficult for you not having, creative control, essentially, because it's an established brewery. There are some options for, doing some smaller size batch beers and whatever. Side note, it looks like a beer Austin and I did called Beer Garden, a West Coast style IPA. Is going to be doing some cool things with that. So we'll see. Yeah, we're definitely going to be rebrewing it. So that's fun. I have found, and it hasn't been a problem or anything like that, but I do find my ego creeping up from time to time. Whether it be a process thing, whether it be a recipe thing. And I hesitate to say this stuff, but I feel okay saying it. I don't really think anybody at work is going to hear it or anything like that. But even if they did, we all have egos and it's normal. I'm happy to be employed by Sonder, and I don't have any problem with what we're doing there. I think we're doing very good work. But when you don't have that creative element, and it's not that I couldn't bring something to them and try it, but in the past, it was always like, oh, I want to do this. I'm going to do it like that. I don't have to have a conversation with anybody. You just do it, right? That's one of the things I've noticed, because I thought that when I said, oh, yeah, I have no problem doing that. And I don't have a problem with it. But it is interesting to notice that little self-talk voice sometimes as you're doing your things. Where you're like, oh, okay, maybe this does like activate a little bit of ego in me to have somebody that is ultimately in control of everything on the brewing side that I report to, because that's not really ever been something that I've had with a few occasions, but primarily I've been my own boss in the brewery. Again, that's not been anything that's been like a negative, but it's something that's been an eye opener because I've been aware of it. And so I see it happening. And you just have to remind yourself to kind of, tamp that back down. I think this year's been very busy. It's been a lot of change, both personal and professionally. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm no longer releasing daily videos on YouTube right now. I just couldn't get it done. I'm not going to lie. I just couldn't get it done. I've been busy. I'm not sure when I'm going to be doing them again. I'm sure they will come back at some point. But right now, life is kicking me in the tail. I'm still going to be shooting to do my two my 2 podcasts a month, and some content here or there. But as far as daily videos, I'm not sure just when that's going to come back. And it's just kind of being all right with having that be what it is, right? But anyways, I always appreciate everybody's support. So thank you.